and welcome to another episode of Council Connections. This program is an opportunity for your elected officials to keep you up to date on the events, legislation, and initiatives that matter most. I'm Char Freedberg, and today I'm pleased to welcome our newest Ward 1 Council member, Adrian Simmons. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to today.
Really looking forward to having you here. So, what is your why? Because you ran for council 5 years ago and you didn't get it, but when the vacancy by Carl DeWalt was opened, you ran again. Why?
Yeah, great question. And I did run in the election last fall, and it was a lot of candidates, and it was actually a great election and a great experience. Came up a little short in the end, but it turned out that it also helped prepare me for the stage I'm at now in terms of being able to join. And in terms of why, what motivated me, there's really a number of different things. Some of them that come to mind. COVID period really was a great time of reflection for a lot of people. You know, a lot going on in the world, and for me, a part of the thing I took from that is, hey, I can't necessarily help contribute to things going on halfway around the world. Well, how can I help what's going on, in my own backyard, my own neighborhood? And so that got me thinking, much more around, let's just build those bridges between the people across the street, between the people across town, because that's the everyday life that we're all a part of. And so how can I be a part of that too? I've lived in Laurel my whole life, and so part of it too is as a kid growing up, and now I've got 4 kids of my own, you reflect as an adult and you say, you didn't realize it, but there were a lot of people there that helped make possible the experience that you had as a kid, to help create that environment as a kid. But that takes work, it takes effort, it takes people stepping forward. And sort of now the stage of my life is like, hey, I want to be able to step forward and sort of do that work to be there for them as well. And then last thing sort of towards that question is, I think, over the next 10 years, Laurel will very likely go through some changes. We're always changing, of course, but things like the Laurel Park is closing, is going to be redeveloped. Conterra will be coming online soon. There's just some natural redevelopment going on around the city. And so I think we've got some important decisions to make, and I'd like to be part of helping shape those to create a great place here in Laurel, to see it continue to preserve that community feel, but also position it to be a strong city going forward that people want to continue to be a part of.
I really like that. So now you've been a council member for a number of months. So what are your first impressions and experiences?
Yeah, as I look back over these last few months already, it's been a great experience. Some of the things that stick out in my mind was that oath of office day. Having my wife and my kids there. We had the Bible from my wife's family and things like that. And that's just sort of sears in the head. Mayor Sidner there to do the swearing in. And that's just a moment you sort of have in your mind of really taking on that responsibility of serving others, of being there for the city. And it was really great because that first weekend immediately after was the July 4th weekend. And we do July 4th so great here in Laurel. And it was sort of nice to be able to sort of be a part of that in a different way this year.
And to bring your kids to the event.
Absolutely, yeah. Even in the parade is a lot of fun. I get to wave to them. But all the other kids along the parade route too. We had some stickers to pass out, the fireworks. And actually that night at the field at Goodwood Park, with just all of Laurel, as you know, it seems sort of comes out for that event. I just took a moment to walk around and just see all the people we have, all the different nationalities, all the different walks of life. And I'm like, this is small town America. This is everybody coming together. This is Laurel. And that was just really an inspirational moment for me, sort of an impression for me. So I sort of carry that in my mind. And, being a member of council ends up becoming a good excuse to have all these little portholes in terms of what's going on around town. Meeting with heads of churches like Reverend Smith at St. Mark's, or meeting with nonprofits like Fido's and Lars, meeting with, just individuals, heads of the Homeowners Association, people who are volunteering on the committees. We've got a lot of really good people here in Laurel, all pulling together to help make a place a community. And that's really big for me, is how can we make a place a community, and how I can help contribute to all the good that's already going on. So those are some of my initial experiences. Looking forward to more to come.
Looking forward to you experiencing more of Laurel through a council member's eyes. So, like we said, you were elected to the council to fill a vacancy. Mm-hmm. Can you describe a little bit of how that process works?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes folks ask me sort of what was the mechanism, things like that. And it doesn't happen often, but it does happen from time to time that a member of council, may need to move and the seat might be vacated. In this case, my predecessor, Councilman DeWalt, moved out of town to be closer to family, created a vacancy. And there actually is provision in our city charter for sort of how to handle the situation. So this is sort of like a pro tip. If folks are interested about the city charter, it's basically like our Constitution, sort of what sets us up, creates our very basic structure and some of the different rules. If you go to the city's website, cityoflaurel.org, if you're curious late one night, can't fall asleep, and then hit on the government button at the top, and in the bottom right, it says City Charter and Municipal Code. So that's where you can look things up. If you go into that city charter, and you scroll on through, you'll see there's provision for vacancies. What do we do? And the idea is that if the vacancies are 2 or less, then the council actually elects a representative. And so that's what happened. They sort of opened in a very public process. Anybody wanted to apply, they could apply. There's a certain period of time. And then there was open sort of public interviews here at council chambers. And there were 4 candidates that applied. And, I had run last fall, so, I was familiar with the process and sort of stepped forward again, and happy to say that I was elected in the end. So looking forward to it. But that's some of the mechanics of how that works.
Okay, that is a good bit of advice, especially for people who want to understand about the City of Laurel itself. Go to cityoflaurel.org to get more information about the services that we offer.
Absolutely.
So since you are a fairly new council member, can you give us a little bit of background so people can get to know you?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a lifelong Laurelite, so I've lived in Laurel my whole life, which at this point is about to be 46.
Wow.
So yeah, I know I start to feel a little bit, getting up there. But I grew up in South Laurel, sort of off Conti Road, so technically just outside the city limits, and I know there's many folks who call Laurel home, but may not be right in the 5 square miles of the city incorporated. But anyways, I grew down there, 3 brothers, or in the middle of 3 brothers, I should say, and then Laurel Boys and Girls Club, soccer, baseball. As a member of the Cub Scout pack and Boy Scout troop, different activities around town, and then as I sort of started to grow up through school and whatnot, I went to school up in Baltimore, studied accounting. So I got my bachelor's degree in accounting, and at the same time, I got an MBA with a concentration in finance. And started work with a firm up there called KPMG as a financial statement auditor. And that was right around the year 2000. And then 2 years later, I left there to join up with my dad. So my dad had founded a solo practice as a CPA here in Laurel in around 1977 or so. And so I joined him in 2002. I like to say the practice doubled in size. We went from 1 person to 2 people. So that was fun. And have practiced as a CPA here in Laurel ever since. Right now I have a practice on Main Street called Elements CPA. But so that's a little bit of sort of my background and history, and then some of the things I've done over the years of, served on different boards, different committees, like the Maryland Society of Accountants Scholarship Foundation for 10 or so years, a finance advisory council for my parish here, St. Mary's. Here in Laurel, advise different nonprofits, sort of helping them, and then just serving the small businesses and people of Laurel as well. So through that, you hear a lot of stories, you get a lot of experience, and I'm really excited to be able to sort of bring that to my role.
We're very excited for you to bring all of those experience to this small town that you've grown up in you said you were going to turn 46
Yes,
soon?
I am.
You don't look a day over 30.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm trying to keep it that way. We'll see how long it lasts.
So what are some of the reasons that you ran, and what would you like to see for Laurel as it continues to grow?
Yeah, great question. So some of the reasons we talked about earlier in terms of the inspiration of being able to sort of help contribute to a community. I mean, for me, the theme is really driven asking the question, how can we create a foundation on top of which other people can build a community that is Laurel? I mean, my philosophy is the city structure itself isn't Laurel, it's all the people that are Laurel. But we can do, as the city structure and the government, is provide that foundation, provide that platform for people to be able to, as simple as, reach across the fence and talk to your neighbor. I know just even from my own experiences, you say you wave to somebody across the street, or you happen to be coming home from work the same time your next door neighbor is, you sort of say hi. Then maybe a couple months later that leads to more of a conversation. Then a couple months later you get to know people. and you're having somebody over for drinks or you're having somebody over for, that's the type of thing that makes community, that's the type of thing that makes a difference. So I really want to help people know about the different parts of Laurel, the different ways they can get involved, and really encourage them to sort of build that community. And we've got great things here in the city. I mean, even right now we're sitting in a studio, that small businesses or organizations can leverage as part of their mission. And so I want to sort of ask that question: how can we create structures? Be it things like tax, be it things like services, be it things like policies, making all those different decisions that really set up Laurel and its residents to create a vibrant, thriving community.
I really like that answer. So can you give folks a tip that'll help us better understand the inner workings of the City of Laurel's government and how best to interact with the city? Great
question. Yeah, sometimes as I talk to folks, the city government can sort of seem a little hard to get your arms around, right? Hard to sort of, okay, what's what? How does this relate to the other? So I like to break things down for folks into sort of three main parts, and it can help them maybe piece together what the structure of the city government is. So the first piece, I would say, is the mayor and the city council. So, and sometimes that's the most visible piece, but the mayor is basically the chief executive of the city, helping direct those sort of strategic level decisions. And the council, if you will, is sort of like a board of directors. They're helping make sort of high-level policy decisions, high-level finance decisions on behalf of the city. So that first sort of leg is the mayor and city council. The second leg is the departments of the city, and there's like 13 departments. Anything from the communications department, where we are right now.
Little shout out.
Yeah, there we go. There's, of course, the IT department, the Department of Public Works, Department of Parks and Recs. So you've probably heard those names, but all those departments are really carrying out the day-to-day functions of the city. And so, the one, of course, Department of Public Works, you're going to see them picking up your trash every week. So some of those we see very tangibly. Other ones might be a little bit more behind the scenes, like IT. Critical, but may not be something you see right off as much as the person picking up your trash each week.
Right.
So mayor, city council, the 13 departments doing the day-to-day work of the city, and then the third piece is really the committees and the commissions. So some of these are advisory in nature. So for instance, I chair one committee. It's the Citizens Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities.
Wow.
And we're charged with the mission to sort of listen to and gather input from those who experience disability or are caretakers of those who have disabilities, to be sure that our city is able to serve them well, to be sure that they have access and they feel connected and engaged to the city. So a little plug on that front too. If you or someone is in that boat, happy to talk to them. We are looking for additional members of that committee and want to be sure that they have a voice. So some of those committees are advisory. Some of those sort of committees, commissions also have decision authority. So something like the Planning Commission, something like the Board of Appeals, or the Historic District Commission. So those are also volunteers, from the city as residents that are helping make some decisions on development that's happening, or different types of appeal type decisions that need to be evaluated and had adjudication. So mayor, city council, the 13 departments, and then the committees and commissions. Whatever you do whenever you're interfacing with the city is going to usually be through one of those, and that's sort of how they relate together and how they work together.
I really like that. Although, speaking of the committee that you are a part of and you want people to reach out and make sure that they get in contact with you, how can people find out more about you and also follow your work on the council? Yeah,
absolutely. Great question. So first off, one of my key themes is I want to definitely be accessible and easily. I know sometimes with state representatives, sometimes with other types of representatives, you may feel a little disconnected. And so for me, I really want to say, hey, if somebody reaches out, I want to be sure that they understand that they have a connection, somebody they can talk to if they have a question. A role that council members can play is really plugging you into resources, helping you navigate some of what the city has to offer. So you can email me, asimmons, SIMMONS, @laurel.md.us, or reach out to the council office, 301-725-5300. So 301-725-5300. So that would be just one-on-one contact to be able to do. Also, I'm keeping a blog. I thought it would be a great way to sort of share information. So I started the blog back in July, and but people can go to Adrian for Laurel, the word for, so adrianforlaurel.org, and you'll see on there where I share council meetings, legislation we're considering, events going on around town, different thoughts and ideas that I'm coming across and sort of think might be helpful to Laurel. So that's another great way. And of course, please do feel free, come up at events, you see me around town. One of my great joys is talking to people, hearing their stories, helping them learn more about what the city provide them resources. So just come up and say hi, and let's open that conversation. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I will say you are very approachable and very easy to get to know. I think one of my favorite interactions was during the Independence Day celebration. I saw you and all the other council members doing the Cupid Shuffle.
Yeah.
That was a fun little way for you guys to get loose.
It was a great sort of fun inspiration or impromptu moment to just sort of hear that music. And Councilwoman Johnson is a great dancer too, so I think she got us all in the mood.
She is that kind of a person. Ward 1 Councilmember Adrian Simmons, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I look forward to it.
Of course. And thank you for tuning into this episode of Council Connections. I'm Char Freedberg, and I'll see you next time.